Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Dacast API webinar here on the 16th of October. I'm Greg Ellis, the head of product management for Dacast, and sitting next to me here is Mike Cloward, our head of sales. We're hoping to give you a pretty good overview of what APIs are and how they can affect your business. Today, we're going to keep this pretty short and give you plenty of time for questions and answers at the end of it. And Mike is going to pretty much lead it once we get going, but let's get into a little housekeeping first. When you have questions, if you're watching us right now, just below the player, you'll see some instructions about how to submit your questions. We're not running an interactive live chat on this. It is a live chat, but it's not interactive, meaning that our moderator will be picking up your questions, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll be giving them to us to answer. So you've got plenty of time to get those questions in, and we welcome any questions. We're doing an encore presentation of this next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. That is 2300 hours UTC. This is primarily for our international customer base and interested people over in Asia, but for any of you who get pulled away from the presentation today or who just think of new questions to ask, you're welcome to join us, and we'd love to have you. We'll make an on-demand version of this webinar available at the end of next week, after that encore presentation happens. And at that point, I'm going to turn this over to Mike.
Well, good deal. So we launched our API about a year ago, and we've been taking lots of phone calls and working with a lot of our clients and customers to figure out how to get our API to work the best. And so we've come up with 4 things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about basically what an API is. Then we're going to go over the technical basis of the API. Then we're going to talk about video API and how it affects your business. And then we'll kind of follow up with how the APIs impact the future of OTT. So Greg, let's start with what an API is. I get a lot of phone calls and people are confused about like SDKs, APIs. So let's just give a quick rundown what APIs are.
Well, alrighty, Mike. Well, first of all, an API is a function call that a software developer can use to access parts of a platform, in this case, the Dacast platform, and add functionality to their website or into existing applications and processes that are running on their servers and the rest of their digital workflow. An SDK is a sample implementation of an API. For example, you might have an SDK for grabbing and uploading videos and immediately publishing them for OTT usage on a TV station website. The SDK would include all the code around it to work in the specific framework that you're implementing the API in, which might be PHP or WordPress, etc.
So let's dive into the API then. So I think
Okay, an API could be thought of as a wall socket. Now, in general, a wall socket removes the need for a dedicated power source for electrical devices. It makes things easy. It makes it easy for any manufacturer or anyone else to build and use many different electrical devices that need power without having to add some unique power source to each one of those devices. In the same way, a video API makes it easy to use any of the features of an online video platform like Dacast in your workflow or on your website. So let's get into the technical basis a little bit here. What are the Dacast APIs? They are a streaming API. This is the set of calls and functions that allow you to set up a new live channel and get the information you need in order to begin streaming your live program, like we're doing the webinar here today. It also provides the functionality for you to upload videos, provide the basic publishing for the videos, grab the player code to embed in your website. You either can grab that code, for example, many of our customers write functionality that grabs that code automatically. So when they upload a video, they write around the API calls, which include things like upload video, turn on video, etc. they write code that does all of that automatically, so that when you upload it, when one of their employees uploads a video, it automatically will appear on their website.
And we have a lot of partners, a lot of partner accounts and sub-accounts that are
Yeah.
doing this right now as well. So
We do. We have, the APIs have enabled a large number of people, and in fact, the Broadcaster API, which you mentioned, Content Management API, by the way, lets you control how your content's published. These are themes, these are a variety of other things, metadata around your content, so it can be searched and found. The Broadcaster API is actually designed so that people can build their own services and offer services to their customers using the Dacast platform. We have quite a few people now in the last year and a half who have taken our API and basically built market-specific service platforms for churches, for schools, for government users, where they have other requirements that go beyond what Dacast has, but that they take Dacast's essential capability in the same way that you would buy an engine from an existing engine manufacturer when you make a new car instead of creating your own engine. And lastly, we have a player API. Now, the player API does two things. One, it is the most commonly used API because it allows people to integrate the publishing aspect of the Dacast, which the player we provide, integrate that into your website content management system. It also allows people who use third-party players who have their own custom player to integrate with that.
well, let's see. Let's go. Let's move. let's move ahead. What can you do with a video API? Let's get right to the point here.
Okay, well, like we were just talking about.
I was just thinking about something else completely, but go ahead, keep going.
It's early morning here, folks. You can build your own platform. Like I said, we've got several partners who have built platforms specifically focused for the needs of churches or schools or government users. We also have customers in non-English speaking areas who build platforms that are localized with local language interfaces. You can add video features you need to your business, and this actually is the number one use right now of our API, is that media companies wanting to take their content over the top, or OTT, have been using the API to integrate with their existing playout systems, their existing video archive systems. Think of a news program.
All right, so give me like a real world example of how that would work.
So a news program. You all have watched news on nightly TV. In the news program, you see the talking heads like you and I. You'll see cut-ins of text-based content, the graphics that you'll see as each story is brought up that kind of gives you the title of the story and the explanation. You'll also see video clips that may have been pre-recorded from the scene of an accident or at an interview of somebody, a famous celebrity. So adding video features here, an example would be that a TV station already has all those things together, and now they want to, and they aren't going to change how they put things together just for online. So they use our APIs to just grab the content once they've put everything together, and then throw it on the same time it broadcasts to your TV. They're throwing it online for web viewers.
Yeah, so yesterday we were briefly talking about like workflow. Does this make my workflow easier, or how does the API help with my workflow day to day? Okay,
so fundamentally, most people already are doing things in a way that works for them. And they want to take their content online, and they don't want to have to log into a separate application and upload video that's already existing someplace on their servers. They just want to make it simple and easy, so a single click of a button can do everything they need to get online. The API lets you code that into what your existing workflow and processes are.
So it makes it more smooth, but not maybe same amount of work, but maybe a little bit smoother.
Absolutely. For example, I'll give you another example.
Perfect.
Because I know you're going to ask for one.
Yeah.
But a corporation that is doing internal training may want to support user-generated content. So let the employees upload little clips of the latest party from the office in New York City, or latest party from the office in New York City, or London or some other location, in addition to the regular training videos. So what the API lets you do is the website developer for that corporation on the employee pages can have a simple one-button operation that lets people pick a video and upload it. It doesn't have to worry about logins, convenience of giving more employees access to the Dacast platform. It simply automates the features they want and integrates it into a web page.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about video APIs and business. This kind of goes back to that workflow thing where you're building things and you're helping build out your business and making it easier so you can increase your business without like increasing employees per se. Is that fair to say? That
happens. You've got some customers. I know you've had conversations about this. One of the highest profile examples is Microsoft, who, as they build out the Azure network, cloud services network, they started using an online video platform for internal video training. Microsoft has estimated that they saved almost $14 million by using video for their internal corporate purposes. This saves people, so training, they can train a lot more people a lot faster. They can reach their employees around the world a lot with the same content, a lot easier than if they had their trainers traveling constantly. And employees can watch it when they're sitting in the airport. They can watch it when they have downtime at the office, and even at home for those who don't get the time and are very interested in the training. So $14 million for Microsoft is what their estimated savings have been. By the same token, in the industry, 79% of educational users globally use online platforms for on-demand classroom video. What we're talking about here is primarily recording lectures so that a student can rewatch the lecture. So you don't have to necessarily go in for office hours with the professor anymore. You simply rewatch the lecture, and with more concentration, maybe you were sleeping or talking to your buddy next to you, and 79% of universities, high schools, and other educational institutions use this on demand. And of that 79%, 69% of the students involved are more engaged with the content to the point that they create and upload their own content to the school platform. So it really improves engagement as well as just saving money.
So how does this apply to like the Dacast API user?
The Dacast API user, well, let's go through a few other things here first. 144%, in general in the industry, 144% purchase increase is kind of the peak, but people are seeing massive purchase increases when they integrate video with their product sales, describing the video, showing what the video looks like.
So this could be 20%, 40%, up to 144%.
Yeah, it could be nothing up to 144%. 144% is massive, but the fundamental takeaway here, Mike, is that your customers get an improvement in their sales because their customers can see what the product looks like. We see that companies that use video in their marketing events, these are ads, little bits and head clips of somebody making a comment and a testimonial, have overall growth rates 50% faster than those who don't use video. We have conversion rates on landing pages, if we want to veer into the area of digital marketing, that conversion rates or sign-ups, actions, registering for accounts, etc., are up 80% if you put video on your landing page. You can customize your platform and maximize revenue here. This is something I know that's near and dear to you.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
White label environments. You can customize things so they're only showing your brand, and you don't have to have, for example, some of our competitors always have their logo in the bottom bar of a player. You don't have to have that.
Many of our event folks appreciate the white label, and our financial folks as well.
Absolutely. You can also offer your content for free, or you can put up paywalls. You can use the API to do advertising if you have a large enough audience, or paywalls, or the like. So
let's get to that point where it can help the Dacast customer.
Okay.
My favorite part.
So you've been dealing with Dacast customers for the last 2 years since we rolled out the new API.
You bet.
In 2016, when we rolled the new API out, 17% of our customers were using the API. These were almost all media customers, frequently TV stations, or content rights owners. In 2017, that number had increased 54%, and 24% of our customer base. Now, mind you, this is with a growing customer base. So while our customer base and our business was growing, the overall take-up of the API was also growing. From 2017 to 2018, we've seen another 63% increase. If you want to look at those 3 circles at the bottom, this just kind of shows you in orange that the OTT users or the media users that we have that are trying to make content available to their audiences are the overwhelmingly dominant users of the API. So they're finding it incredibly useful to get their content out to their customers.
Well, at first, no one even knew we had it, and then they realized we had it, and then they didn't know what it was, and then they started using it, and now they love it, and now they're telling all their friends, and now that's the growth. That's where we're seeing it.
Well, you're certainly seeing a significant percentage of the questions that come in for you are API questions, I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, without a doubt. We're getting a lot of those, and that's where our sounds salesy, but our support is very strong in this regard. So that's helping people along. Okay,
and one of the things we've seen here, and I really want to direct your view to the circle graphic on the left at the bottom of this page, showing that 70% of all users of the API now in this rapidly growing population are media companies, so they're TV stations. In fact, this has been one of the fuels to grow the TV business, and I know you've brought several new TV customers on board recently because of this. And if you look at the amount of data passed back and forth, this would be data downloaded from the account to other apps outside of Dacast, and just the sheer number of calls, you see that in orange, the media companies are by far dominating our usage.
Let's talk about calls. How many calls do we give generally?
You get 2,000, the Dacast API, the standard package is 2,000 API calls per account per day.
How does that really, 2,000, is that a low number, a high number? How does that, if you're running efficiently, that should be plenty, correct?
That's more than enough. And this does not refer to calls to watch your content. These are only calls to manage your content. So 2,000 calls, maybe there'd be 3 or 4 calls to set up provision a live channel and pull the data to your encoder in order to make it work. For an online video, you may have a couple of calls to upload a video and a couple of calls to publish. So you're talking about being able to publish hundreds of videos every day if you need to with this number of calls.
And we'll notice if you have too many calls, we'll give you a ring and help you get more efficient.
Yeah. And absolutely, our engineering team, we base our own platform on this API. So when you log into Dacast, you're using the Dacast API with every action you take.
Right.
We base the 2,000 call allocation on what we need to use ourselves to support customers and the number of viewers for our internal customers. And we have well over 2,500 customers. So we're pretty experienced at being able to do this.
Yes.
And I know that for certain customers you've had, Mike, we've increased the number of calls for them dramatically because their business required it.
Yeah, big growth. Okay. All right, let's talk about the future of OTT and how's the API going to, Dacast in particular, how's our API going to affect our OTT customers? What's the impact?
Well, it's already having a big impact, as I've been talking about and kind of repeating myself a few times. Let's step back just a second. I defined this a little earlier, but the OTT stands for over the top. It's an industry phrase in broadcasting that came out of the cable TV and satellite TV industry that simply meant instead of requiring someone to buy a special TV box in order to watch your content, it's actually made available over the top of the box or on the internet to be watched with your device, your mobile device, your laptop, etc. How do APIs affect the evolution of this? They're basically the fuel that makes it happen, because what APIs do first is everyone who's in the media business today can quickly and easily grab these APIs and integrate online capabilities to their existing distribution networks. So you can go over the top much, much faster now than you could. Secondly, it kind of democratizes the whole idea of publishing content. So we're seeing a lot of people who have interesting content, but they're not tied into a studio, they're not tied into a big production house. And the APIs allow these people to create their own brand identity and reach that long tail market out on the internet much more efficiently and easier without needing the technical skills that a media company with a multi-hundred person IT department might have in order to do online video.
So is it, not sorry to interrupt, but is it fair to say that, you know, if you have a small operation, you have a pretty savvy developer who understands the API and OTT in general, you can move pretty quickly?
Oh yeah, and you're right. You hit a key point there. It does take a savvy developer. It takes someone who knows how to do JavaScript or XML type coding on a web page, because it is not just a cut and paste and it works. You do need to know how to develop. But if you have a website developer, if you've got a good cloud app developer who's working with you, this person can add whatever video functionality you need very, very quickly.
Perfect.
So
yeah,
that pretty much is it, and you know, that's the basics about our API. One question I'll ask you, Mike, while we're waiting to hear some questions from our moderator, is you talk to people all the time. You get what, 5, 6 questions a day relating to the API. What are most people wanting to do with it?
Well, most folks are wanting to do the OTT thing. What they have they want to build their own network. I hear a lot of 24/7 TV stations.
Right.
I hear a lot of training networks where, like, I have a financial firm or I have a nursing school, and they want to move forward with that sort of business model, and they want to make it easier for a network of content providers to like jump in. They don't want to have a one office with 15 people trying to, you know, generate content. They have people scattered all over, and that seems to be like the model moving forward. Lots of content providers with one hub and then pushing out. Oh,
that's exactly what we were hoping for when we created the API.
Should I answer that? I'll answer that question like I'm on the phone. No, just
yeah. Here we're getting some questions here.
Question: what would be the capacity? Read it out. What would be the price?
Yeah. What would be the price to use?
Well, you get 2,000 API calls a day. It depends on what your capacity is, and it depends on your application. Pricing for additional API calls depends on what your streaming usage is.
Yeah, and then we give access to the API at the premium level and above.
Right. So that is the premium level and above. Cost starts at $125 a month. It's a 2 terabytes of streaming. That's a very modest amount of streaming. Our very biggest customers, who are TV stations streaming to tens of thousands of viewers, we generally throw in some extra API calls for them because they're streaming enough. And the rest of it is just talk to us about what your application is, what your call usage is. We'll get our engineers involved to make sure that your application is using it efficiently. And once we're all in agreement what you need extra, we'll just price it for you. It's modest.
Yeah, we try to keep the levels low. So we want you to get in and get started, you know, and then you can ramp up. Upgrading with us and you know, growing is kind of what we do with most of our customers. So it's the entry level is fairly low to get involved with the API.
So just go ahead and read Etienne, if you could just read the next question, and we'll repeat it here.
We had a question on the email, first sent emails. Can you actually set up multiple streams with different camera angles and have time code produced on the server side with an API? So basically, can an API help your streaming platform?
Yeah, okay, so the question is, can you set up multiple streams, multiple camera angles, and basically do a multi-camera production, if I understand this correctly, using the API? And the answer is yes, you can. If you can do it through the dashboard, you can do it through the API. The API allows your field people or your producers to enter the information necessary. If your coder basically provides you with a form that sets up what you want camera 1 to do, what you want camera 2 to do, let you bring each of the streams in, and then through the API you can also switch between player embeds or displays and channels. It's all there. Now, it can't do things that the regular platform doesn't do. So for example, right now we are not in the Dacast player, we don't have multi-feed video. We do have customers who have custom players that support multi-feed video, and yes, in fact they use the API specifically to feed the players so they can switch between streams. Just like a TV station would switch between camera angles in a broadcast. Any other questions?
A specific question about how an API can be used in a low volume environment. This is more technical, but this customer was actually asking, he has a low volume environment and a lot of videos, and he wants to know if you can use an API to actually have
Well, yeah, I mean, a low volume environment meaning you don't have very many viewers. So the question is an API useful in a low volume environment where you may not have tens of thousands of viewers? You may have people watching occasionally and not every day, not 24/7. The answer is yes. We have, right now, we have small religious broadcasters who may only broadcast 2 or 3 times a month and then may have a small number of on-demand videos who use the API regularly. It's simply an alternative way. If you have your own website or your own processes that manage your video, it's simply a way to automate the functionality you would otherwise get inside the Dacast dashboard. So yes, you can use it.
So far, no other questions?
Okay.
I think we wrapped it up.
Okay, folks, so we are, this is the first of our new series of webinars. We will be coming to you with some regularity. We don't have a regular schedule yet, but Dacast a few years ago used to do webinars quite regularly, and we're just starting in again. Any suggestions or requests you have, please send them in to us through the same chat response that we showed you for sending questions in today. And we'll produce a webinar if we think there's enough general interest. Thank you very much, everyone.
You guys have a good day.
Bye-bye.